Any advice for non-tech founders that are looking for a CTO?
You probably don't need one, is my answer.
Yeah.
If you're looking for one, what's your reason? I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious of what you're trying to do here. Usually, if you really need to define what's the outcome or goal that you're looking for,
Hmm.
and it's probably not a CTO's role. You're probably looking for a lead engineer.
Yeah. The following is a conversation with Stephen Blum, CTO of PubNub, a serial entrepreneur and investor. Stephen has played a crucial role in scaling PubNub to support over a billion devices, sending trillions of messages for multi user experiences. In addition to his role at PubNub, Stephen invests in startups focusing on API companies and AI. Hi, Stephen.
Yeah, it's great to be here. My name's Stephen Blum, CTO of PubNub, serial entrepreneur and investor for quite a few years now.
Great to have you here on the podcast. What kind of startups do you invest in?
API companies, usually those are great. And then AI as well, of course, because it has been really busy recently.
What does PubNub do for its customer? What do you guys solve?
Yeah, so PubNub is the world's largest publish subscribe global network, and we are now a complete developer platform. We connect over a billion devices, and those devices send trillions of JSON messages for multi-user experiences. And check this out. Check this out. It's really cool. The top 10 apps in the App Store today, they all have built-in communication. They built it directly into the app. And this is what we provide. This is what we power. That ability to provide order delivery, customer support, live event chat, multiplayer gaming, and user-to-user chat. So a whole bunch of different things that require collaboration technology. We built that. And usually what's the problem? Customers will come to us and they say, hey, we're hitting scaling limitations with our WebSocket server. And so we say, we can solve that for you with our globally distributed messaging bus. We wrote it in C, and it's auto-scaling running Kubernetes across all of Amazon's data centers. Your users will connect to the closest data center, and then they will be able to have really performant speed on message delivery, but also we can have a high reliability. Devices will reconnect to the next closest data center if there's a problem.
And so, for a company, at what scale do they usually come to you? Like, when do they start realizing, oh, we need someone like you?
Yeah, it's usually a few thousand users is when they'll run into that problem because it's very difficult to scale a WebSocket type communication because when you split it between multiple servers, then you need to figure out how to synchronize and load balance users between those servers. That's where the challenge comes in. And then you also, depend on that communication. So you need it to be reliable with failover. And so that's an extra layer of difficulty. And then also security is different than standard REST security. So you have to bake that in as well. And it just keeps going from there. You're not done. What about data durability? So it's a lot of challenges.
Yeah, like anything, people start from, oh, this should be simple enough. Let me build this. And then they realize, oh, this is too deep. Let's just um, get a service. Interesting. And so, how did you guys start on this journey? Like, what was the genesis of PubNub?
We needed a technology like this for building a thing back when the iPhone first came out.
Yeah.
There were no push notifications.
Yep.
They didn't exist. So we needed a way to communicate with the mobile app. And we found out PubNub was the way. And then we offered it as an API, and then a lot of people wanted it.
And so this was a pivot. What happened to the original idea?
Oh, it took off and became a public company. So
Oh,
that's over. It happened. It became real. And so now we're focusing on PubNub, software-oriented technology. And we connect, right, like I was mentioning a little bit earlier before, a billion devices. A lot of users.
wow. And so, actually, I missed that in the research. What was the other company? Or you want to keep the name under wraps?
We can talk more about it later, maybe.
Yeah. And so you've been around at PubNub for almost 14 years now. A little over 14 years. How has the transition been? I mean, being a part of a company from day one versus at 150, 170 plus?
Well, it's tough because at day one, you're doing every job, every single job, right? So what do you have? You have to take care of everything. And then you need to figure out what you need to scale from there. And that becomes what roles and what responsibilities. And, we need voices to talk with the customers. There are a lot of customers, thousands of signups. How do we make sure we don't leave anyone behind? So that requires a sales team, the new marketing team to enable the sales team, and product marketing and product to expand the product to deal with some of the customers' requests because they need more features to solve their product issues, and it just grows from there. So it's really based on the demand of what you get in the market. So the market fit, and then you find that's how you have to scale the team.
How did you deal with the changes in your role?
I mean, I'd probably say one of the biggest challenges was expectations around the performance of what we could see from other teams. I you know, I see everything super clearly. I can type things out really quick and get exactly what I want. Just a few days, maybe potentially a week or two. It's constructing teams don't mean it's going to be at that level of quality or speed, right? You're going to get most of what you need, but in like 10 times longer. So it's going to take a lot longer to build. The cool part is, as you construct more teams,
You scale, the sluggishness is also because of the amount of communication you have to do, not just transferring the ideas yourself, but also the team's communication amongst themselves.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need that. That becomes like, how do you structure things? What is the need? You can't. Here's a mistake. If you have teams that depend on each other for anything, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If there's contending resources, you're going to slow both teams down. So you need to make sure every team has exactly what they need, and they can keep moving forward. And probably the hardest thing is, that might be the most challenging for everyone, is giving them control.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that team has complete autonomy and they don't kind of look to someone else or another team or someone outside to make that call for them. The team internally needs to be able to make those decisions because they're going to own that going forward. And that ownership is critical.
Are your teams constructed in a way where they can actually execute it end to end, or in the past you've gone through handoffs and then made that transition?
Yeah, every team can be successful independently. It didn't start out that way, obviously, because you don't have enough resources to make them successful at the gate, like infrastructure, some common standards for deploying the applications, scalability, checklists, um, how their software is operated in a globally distributed environment. So like we had to build up another team that's dedicated just to enabling all the other teams, right? Sort of like an DevOps team, the developer happiness team at PubNub.
Interesting. How many startups have you invested so far?
20 to 30. I have a list. I keep a list and then I just add to it, but I haven't been counting recently. It used to be a public list. I had it on AngelList, and then they removed that. They changed it completely. So now there's a talent hiring platform.
Yeah, well
It's
found.
completely separate from their angel venture.
Yeah.
You could Wayback Machine and see my page on the internet, the Wayback Machine.
What do you look for in a startup as an investor?
Do they have they already figured out market fit? How long did it take them to do that? Like usually, if they say they are building MVP for more than 2 weeks, that's a problem because you're not actually building MVP. You're getting excited about doing a whole bunch of other things that you haven't validated with the market yet. So that's a problem. That shows that you haven't experienced failure enough. And failure is critical. You have to have that.
Yeah.
If you don't have failure, you don't know how to, proceed forward. So you need to fail a lot faster. So that's why that 2-week time period for an MVP development is mandatory, because you need to get that market fit if you haven't figured that out.
A lot of startups, though, do take a lot longer than 2 weeks. How do you deal with? Do you have exceptions around that rule, or is it a blanket 2 week rule if your MVP is not out? And can you elaborate more on what does it mean to be, an MVP being out in 2 weeks?
Yeah, if you can't get it done in 2 weeks, you have to fake the rest of it, right?
Mm.
And then you have to get lighthouse customers lined up that are having the problem that you're solving with their business. You're able to provide them a service or a capability. Say, hey, we have the service capability. We are here. It is. This part's usable, and then it will look like this. So you have to get to that's what the 2 week time period is. You got to get to those customers quickly to do market validation. You can't skip that step. That's why that 2 week window is critical. If you can't make the 2 week window, you have to paint in the rest of the picture with slides.
So essentially, you're evaluating the founder's eagerness to fail and ability to take in that failure, have that mental thickness needed for becoming an entrepreneur.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, it's critical. Because guess what? You're never going to be prepared. There's always something that you're not going to be ready for, and you'll run into it mistakenly, and then you need to know how to adapt. And so that happens all the time, like constantly. And so that's why the failure is critical.
So, out of the startups you've invested so far, any interesting stories on the investment or the startup itself?
Yeah. Okay. One of them raised $800 million and they are out of money. How do they do that? How do they run out
Did
of
they
money with
burn the
$800
money?
million?
Literally?
They burn it. Yeah. They catch it on fire. Seriously, come on. They do have a product they are making. They are making millions. They're on their way to an IPO. They need to make it efficient. They need to be cash flow positive. So that is something that they started working on at the beginning of the year. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. $800 million is a lot.
Yeah,
So
that is a lot of money. And so, what did they
hmm
notice? It didn't notice all the cash going out of the bank, or what was the big mistake?
yeah, that's a big part of it. And they just started a new product line, which is innovative and controversial.
Hmm.
It's being sold, though not at a sufficient volume, and they can't make it break even. So they're relying on a couple of other products right now that are, more the break even. So they have to dial back R&D and push more products that's profitable right now in order to get cash flow.
Interesting. And what stage did you get in? Like very early or?
I got midway.
Nice. And so, what kind of check sizes do you personally cut? Are you part of a syndicate, or you invest individually?
No, both.
Both.
I do both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It really depends on the stage of the company,
Okay.
right? So if it's really late stage, we're gonna see bigger checks. If it's early stage, it'll be smaller. It's usually traditional
Yeah.
approach, yeah, because you really need to hit that market validation,
Hmm.
and typically you're supposed to do that before you raise funds.
Yeah.
But if it's pre-seed angel round,
Yeah.
then we'll see 25 to 100K, and that's that's about the size that you'd see.
Yeah. Makes sense. I'm assuming you can't name that particular startup.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Anything in terms of a product that you're excited about in your portfolio that you want to call out?
Yeah, do have an AI, a couple of AI companies. One is doing something that Google is trying to do, which is a specific level of automation that humans usually would do. So this is like that next step, right?
Mm.
So we've got AIs that can write text for us and create images and movies. And then we have an AI that actually performs human tasks at a desk job, and they've succeeded. They're on version 2. and they have active customers that are knocking at their door right now.
Interesting. No names, I'm assuming
Um,
again.
Actually, you could check this one
Yeah,
out. It is testdriver.ai.
yeah, we'll check
There
it
you
out.
go.
Cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
and it works. They actually did it.
Actually, did it.
Yeah.
Nice. And for something like this, how did they approach, I guess, customer validation?
Several pivots. So they did the market validation, saw that they needed to change it, and then change again. And good news is they found something that a lot of people are very, very interested in.
Cool. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, that's why market validation.
Yep, market validation. Absolutely. So, in this long journey, I'm sure there have been many lessons, both from looking at startups you're investing in and your time at building PubNub. What's one of the key lessons you would want to share for early stage founders?
The importance of, let's see, how do we say this? Promotion. The word promotion,
Hmm.
right? You need to be able to attract attention. Once you have several lighthouse customers,
Mhm.
you need to be able to figure out how to make that repeatable.
Yeah.
Taking your message to the wide audience of the world, there's already a lot of voices.
Yeah.
So how do you break through? And that's a hard problem because a lot of founders and business owners want to cover as much of the market as they can, but that's a mistake. You did it wrong. Sorry, you failed.
Hmm.
You can't do that. You need to create a verticalized story that can connect using specific language to, it's like a niche, right? You got to find a niche.
Mhm.
You know for sure that you're going to be able to hit all these other markets. That's fine.
Hmm.
Immediately, you need to target a good known use case where you have validated the market in an industry, and then you need to start the campaign for that right now. So say you're an AI company that can do document search,
Mhm.
and you do really good document search. You can't go to market with that. That's too broad of a term. You need to say specifically for financial firms with hundreds of millions of documents, you can quickly find the exact document that they're looking for and then provide, snippets and snapshots within a half of a second, right? So that is more of a vertical message. You have to say it like that.
The willingness to let go of certain markets and identifying the one market where you need to kind of double down, triple down, and get
Hmm.
that scale. Yeah.
Yep. One market, one industry, one use case, one persona.
100%.
Who are you targeting, right? Are you targeting product manager, product
Yeah.
owner? You're talking finance team, CFO, or software engineers, right? Who are you targeting? You have to have that one persona. Two? Nope, sorry, can't have two. Nope, got to pick one.
Not a big one. That's the hard part.
Hmm.
In our earlier conversations, we also spoke about IP. A lot of investors actually, when evaluating startups, look at what the moat is going to be and what the IP is. Do you want to talk through what your journey was like around patents and you have multiple patents
Hmm.
yourself. How was that journey?
Yeah, so you might have some technology that you're approaching the market with, and you'll be very cautious,
Mhm.
right? Oh, you want to make sure that no one can take or copy this idea. Um, that you might think is a reason to get a patent,
Mhm.
but it's too soon. It's too soon to get a patent. Is it really worth it? You'll be spending a lot of time trying to make sure that you get the patent right and you've got the right language and you've broadened it enough. You'll waste time. It's not worth it at the beginning. You need to get market validation and go quickly. And then once you have that and you're moving forward, you can then start considering a patent because a patent will take a lot of your time. So definitely don't do it too early. Just keep going. We have patents, like you're describing, for defensibility purposes,
Hmm.
right? That's the protection of the IP. Do we have value? Yes, we do. And we have guarded the IP with patents, right? So these are defenses. We have a really good one, which is messaging in a cloud-based infrastructure. Isn't that crazy? We have that patent. That's our patent. It's amazing that we have that. Now, it seems like it's pretty generic, and yeah, that's true. It is. It's very generic. It's very general. We were able to, because this was like before cloud was really breaking through.
So you got the patent
Right.
before.
Yeah, so this is 1.5 decades ago.
Oh wow. So very early
So
stage. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So there are opportunities out there, but we're nowhere near done yet, right? Not even from a PubNub perspective for sure, but from a technology availability perspective and what you can go to market with and what we can innovate with, there's just so much more to consider, especially now with AI.
And so you were able to get that patent that early because you were coming on the back of this other startup that we were talking about, which needed a tech like PubNub. You had a lot of momentum and maybe some cash to kind of invest. In terms of scale and revenue, when would you recommend startups to invest in patents? Because it could be expensive, right? Getting lawyers and
It is expensive, and it takes a lot of time.
yeah.
It's not an instantaneous thing. It's not overnight, and it takes a lot of time. So you need to be wait until post raise to get a patent. Maybe you could get a patent, just like an outline of what a patent would be, but you don't. It's too soon, I would say, if you get it before you'd consider it, because you want to be able to be a path towards revenue, right? Or a revenue stream that can scale, and then you need to patent that. Like it might be too easy to say get one now before market validation, because you want to be protective, right? You want to make sure that your revenue stream is protected. But it's there isn't one.
Right.
There's no revenue stream until you actually have one.
Yeah. Maybe I've not tried this, so I don't know how good ChatGPT is in helping you with writing a patent, but maybe a provisional patent it could be filed with the help of AI as soon as you start seeing some revenue, and then maybe, then maybe invest in.
That's actually a good idea. Okay, so we didn't have that option back then, right? That wasn't a thing. You can do that now, though. You can have the AI create a provisional patent for you that matches the needs for submitting it to the patent office.
Yeah.
Then you can ask the AI, what's the process for submitting it to the patent office, and then you file the fee, and then you can bypass lawyers. So that should save you a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
And you can do it very quickly. So you know what? Maybe do that.
Okay, maybe we'll see some more patents coming.
There we go. Yeah.
We also spoke about defensibility and how the patent is more of a guard and not a guarantee. Have you had instances of people infringing your patents? How do you deal with that?
Oh, we ignore it. Yeah, it's happening all the time. Right. So we have a ton of patents. They are being, I mean, I don't say anyone's intentionally infringing on them, because it's not like they would go look up and see.
Yeah.
Like, oh, who. It's there as a defensive mechanism. It doesn't make sense to use it offensive, because you need to spend your time on growing the company.
Yeah.
Do not spend your time attacking other people. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a guard, but does it also add in terms of getting more business?
It can be levered in sales cycles, right? So we do have sales strategies and, very specific tactics that we can take under certain, based on what customers' needs are, maybe what comes up in conversation. So we do have documented all of our patents and the strengths and why they're important to us. So they can be used. We have, internal wikis and sales tools and decks that our sales team uses. So this is a good sales tactic.
Coming to the most discussed topic these days, AI. How do you see AI impacting PubNub, an infrastructure startup? how do you see startups like you getting impacted by AI?
So we have a lot of customers today. They send lots of messages. They got a lot of devices connected. That's a lot of data going through the network. A lot of it is chat data on other sort of user communication. We have a lot of opportunity there. Our customers are asking us for very specific AI features. They want us to, because the volume is so high, they don't want to have humans in the middle having to deal with, reviewing messages and things like that, right?
Hmm.
So AI can do a really good job of that. And some AIs get as really close, if not as good as a human,
Yep.
essentially, right? So might as well have the AI take care of that for us. We are actively working on these AI capabilities at PubNub today to give to our customers and make it really easy for them. So it's almost like a button they can click. And now they get these added features, and it makes it pretty straightforward.
Interesting. How expensive is that?
Well, we're actually pretty good with AI. We've got a lot of data, and we've had experience with it for quite a long time.
Hmm.
And so we know how to make it optimal and cost effective at scale. And this is where we're really good, where we've spent our amount of time is our infrastructure is specifically targeted towards scalability and global distribution footprints, multiple data centers. So not only can we get things really, really fast, but also globally distributed and highly reliable and cost effective. So this is something that we're very good at. And AI today, there's not many companies out there, other than the really, really big ones, that have the resources to invest to make something effective and efficient.
Yeah.
From that perspective, it's most AI today is like Python notebooks and Juniper notebooks, right?
Yep.
So very scientific, community driven. Where we needed to do that to learn all these possible algorithms. Operationalizing it is where the industry is looking now. How do you do AI ops? Right, that's huge. That's a big aspect to it. So there will be innovation startups and companies that are looking at operationalizing AI to scale and have high reliability and be more performant and faster, and then dev tool chain, CI/CD. So there's just a ton of stuff that needs to happen. The tech is still so new.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I don't think we've scratched the surface for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for someone who's starting out building a product that's for the devs, an API stack, um, what advice would you give someone who's building an API startup?
Mm, so say you do have market validation and you're past that point. I mean, the most critical aspect with any business is you need to learn how to promote the business. You need to be able to attract attention, right? And it's a significant amount of effort, and you really need to be spending about 90% of your time, which sounds like it's way too much, right? 90% is a lot. But it's necessary. You need to learn how to communicate with others. What language do they use? How do you scale that? And then that allows you to bring that back to your team. Your team can scale it. It's just something that you can't leave behind. You need it's critical. Otherwise, you have the best technology that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah. And it's even a little more challenging in case of an API stack or API product because your end users are engineers.
Yep. Yeah. So the champions need to be your software engineers, developers, engineering leads, managers. They need to be your champions, and then you need to focus on that. It's very easy down the path to then have the check marks required for those champions to get the right documents to where they need to go. So your persona for an API company is the software engineer. Do not make the mistake of saying, "Oh, it's a purchaser decider of some sort." Right? It can't. That's not today. Today, the team, it's pretty standard for Scrum and Agile to be a pretty common construct for the team, and the engineers will essentially make the call because they have to run the tests to validate that it matches all the product requirements.
Yeah.
They're the deciders, not the person with the budget.
Yeah.
Right? So
Makes sense.
you need to make them successful.
As easy as sell.
That's your persona.
The language
Yep.
needs to be focused on that persona. Yeah.
One persona. Don't worry about anyone else.
So that's the business side of the challenge. But any technical advice on building an API startup? Like any engineering challenges that you feel that were painful that someone could use as a lesson?
It's a lot easier today. You've got automation software like Kubernetes,
Mm.
right? And so that's something that is pretty standard in the industry today, and every cloud vendor provides a Kubernetes option to deploy your infrastructure. Now, Kubernetes is going to be very complicated.
Yep.
It's more advanced than most people need. It's ideal for us because we have so many different teams and engineering teams at PubNub that can deploy their code and their application and service next to other services that are operating in the same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
This allows us to co-locate some of the workloads that have different requirements from a resource perspective,
Mm-hmm.
so we can offer a more cost-effective solution to our customers. And auto scaling comes into the picture there. Centralized logging, centralized monitoring. And that's where Kubernetes and several other tools are going to be really powerful. If you're getting started as a startup, it's probably better if you use something like an ECS, Amazon Container Services. Don't use a Kubernetes. You don't need EKS. You don't need GCP. You could use something like Cloud Run
Yep.
on GCP. Use a Lambda style functions as a service.
Yep.
And don't bother with anything big or beefy that you would need for large number of teams.
Yeah.
Because it's a big investment. It took us 2 years
It is.
to migrate.
It is. I have some experience with Kubernetes as well, and I agree. Back in the day when you started, probably Kubernetes was way mature and the default choice, so to speak, to build something like this. But yeah, if you can get away with, I would get away with Kubernetes as well. I speak to a lot of founders and also non-tech founders. Any advice for non-tech founders that are looking for a CTO?
You probably don't need one, is my answer.
Yeah.
If you're looking for one, what's your reason? I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious of what you're trying to do here. Usually, if you really need to define what's the outcome or goal that you're looking for,
Hmm.
and it's probably not a CTO's role. You're probably looking for a lead engineer.
Yeah.
You're probably looking for someone who can help drive the initiative. In that case, probably won't have the level of equity or stake or cost, right, that you would be spending on a CTO from that perspective. Or if you're looking for a co-founder, right, then you are not assigning the right thing. Sometimes I see folks wanting to find a CTO or other kinds of high-level roles like that to get a check mark to then start looking for funding, which is a complete mistake, right? Now it's just like a placeholder role that's there just to sort of add a potential fake validation mark on the company. So that's really shady. So you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with that. I've seen it a couple times. You really just want. What's your goal? That's what you want to find. Oh, you want to build a product? Perfect. All right. You want a lead engineer. Or you need to start a company and you're looking for the tech side of things and you don't have the tech. Well, maybe you're not starting the right company. That's a big one. You, as a non-technical founder, would need to be able to do everything. You need to be able to do all the roles in the company.
Yeah.
I'd say. So you're probably looking at something completely different, or a co-founder level, in which case you'd be wanting to split everything down the middle. And if you don't want to do that, then you're just doing it wrong.
Yeah. So you either want to be the technical person yourself or have a technical co-founder who's more of a
Equally weighted
executor and not a CTO.
Yeah, you might have a founding engineer role where it won't be like a sort of like a lead engineer, sort of the first engineer type deal. You might want something like that. That's the most likely case, right? That's what you're really looking for. If you really want someone to dive in as a full business partner, you have to be ready to, both sides have to be ready to be all in.
Given you've scaled the company to almost like a little over 150 with PubNub, any recommendations on org design?
It changes over the years, right?
I know we are almost out of time, so the final question: any final words of wisdom for early stage founders?
Just go. That's
Just
it.
go.
If you're going to start a business, yep, just go. Just go. It's okay, here's the question. Do you want to start a business? Do you really? Okay, start right now. Oh, you don't? You want to wait until you're ready? Okay, never start.
Yeah.
Sorry, you already failed. It's too late. Some folks want to just read a book.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be prepared. I gotta wait until I figure. No, you fail. You got to start right now. And the reason is, if you don't, you're gonna have the wrong mentality going into it. You need to be able to jump in, figure out, oh, I did that wrong. I did this wrong, and then you have to go quick and right the failure part. Don't be prepared. Just go.
Start. Yeah.
That's the best advice.
And I think in our call we discussed about how, especially for certain roles like engineers who want to be founders, should probably just go but moonlight before on the problem so that it's not as risky, because people are usually scared to take that leap, even though just go is the right advice. Probably if you don't have a lot of savings, it's probably better you start it on the side, talk to your manager or whatever if needed, and kind of moonlight.
There you go. There's a word for it. It's called moonlighting.
I totally agree. A lot of want to be founders just keep pushing it down the road, and the time is never right. It just is never right.
That's it. Yep. There you go. It's not going to happen.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Stephen. It was a lovely chat, and I'm looking forward to pushing this episode out.
Yeah, sounds great. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks. If you found this valuable, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. See you in the next episode.